Jack and the Beanstalk. There was once upon a time a poor widow who had only son named Jack and a cow named Milky White.
Jack.
And all they had to live on was milk the cow gave every morning, which they carried to market and sold. But one morning, Milky White gave no milk and didn't know what to do. "What shall we do? What shall we do?" said the widow, wringing her hands. "Cheer up, mother. I'll go and get work somewhere," said Jack. "We've tried that before, and nobody would take you," said his mother. "We must sell Milky White, and with the money, start a shop or something." "All right, mother," says Jack. "It's market day today, and I'll soon sell Milky White, and then we'll see what we can do." So he took cow's halter in his hand, and off he started. He hadn't gone far when he met a funny-looking old man, who said to him, "Good morning, Jack." "Good morning to you," said Jack, and wondered how he knew his name. "Well, Jack, where are you off to?" said the man. "I'm going to market to sell our cow here." "Oh, you look the proper sort of chap to sell cows," said the man. "I wonder if you know how many beans make 5. "2 in each hand and 1 in your mouth," says Jack, as sharp as a needle. "Right you are," said the man. "And they are, the very beans themselves," he went on, pulling out his pocket a number of strange-looking beans. "As you are so sharp," he says, "I don't mind doing a swap with you. Your cow for these beans." "Walker," said Jack, "wouldn't you like it?" You don't know what these beans are," said the man. "If you plant them overnight, by morning they'll go right up to the sky." "Really?" says Jack. "You don't say." "Yes, that is so. And if it doesn't turn out to be true, you can have your cow back." "Right," says Jack, and hands him over Milky Way's halter and pockets beans. Back goes Jack home, and as he hadn't gone very far, it wasn't dusk by the time he got to his door. "Back already, Jack?" said his mother. "I see you haven't got Milky White, so you've sold her. How much did you get for her?" "You'll never guess, mother," said Jack. "No, you don't say so. Good boy, £5, 10, 15. No, it can't be 20. "I told you you couldn't guess. What do you say to these beans? They're magical. Plant them overnight and..." "What?" says Jack's mother. "Have you been such a fool, a dope, such an idiot as to give away my Milky White, best milker in parish, and prime beef to boot, for a set of beans? Take that, and that, take that. And as for your precious beans, here they go out the window. And now off with you to bed. Not a sup shall you drink, not a bit shall you swallow this very night." So Jack went upstairs to his little room in the attic, and sad and sorry he was, to be sure. As much for his mother's sake as for the loss of his supper. At last he dropped off to sleep. When he woke up, the room looked so funny. The sun was shining into part of it, and yet all the rest was quite dark and shady. So Jack jumped up and dressed himself and went to the window. And what do you think he saw? Why, the beans his mother had thrown out of the window into the garden had sprung up into a big beanstalk, which went up and up and up till it reached sky. So the man spoke truth after all. The beanstalk grew up quite close back past Jack's window, and so all he had to do was open it and give a jump onto the beanstalk, which ran up just like a big plaited ladder. So Jack climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and he kept climbing, and he climbed, and he climbed. It's a bloody long way up that bloody beanstalk, I'll tell you. He kept climbing. So at last he reached the sky. And when he got there, he found a broad road going straight as a dart. So he walked along, and along, and he walked till he came to a great big castle. And on the doorstep of this great big castle was a big woman. "Good morning, Mum," said Jack, quite polite like. "Could you be so kind as to give me some breakfast?" For he had an out to eat, you know, the night before, and was hungry as a hunter. "It's breakfast you want, is it?" said the great big tall woman. "It's breakfast you'll be if you don't move off from here. My man is an ogre, and there's nothing he likes better than boys broiled on toast. Better be moving on. He'll soon be coming." "Oh, please, Mum, do give me something to eat. I've had nothing to eat since yesterday morning. I'm really and truly hungry." "I may as well be broiled as die of hunger." Well, the ogre's wife wasn't such a bad sort after all, so she took Jack into the kitchen, gave him a hunk of bread and cheese and a jug of milk. But Jack hadn't half finished that when thump, thump, thump. The whole house began to tremble with the noise of someone coming. "Goodness gracious me, it's the old man," said the ogre's wife. "What on earth shall I do? Come quick and jump in here." And she bundled Jack into the oven just as Ogre came in. He was a big one, to be sure. His belt, he had 3 calves strung up by the heels. And he unhooked them and threw them down on the table and said, "Here, wife, broil me a couple of these for breakfast." "Ah, what's this I smell?" "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll have his bones to grind my bread." "Nonsense, dear," said his wife, "you're dreaming. Or perhaps you smell the scraps of that little boy you liked so much for yesterday's dinner. Here you go and have a wash and tidy up, and by the time you come back, your breakfast will be ready for you." So off the ogre went, and Jack was just going to jump out of the oven and run away when the woman told him not. "Wait till he's asleep," she says. "He always has a snooze after breakfast." Well, the ogre had his breakfast, and after that goes to a big chest and takes out a couple of bags of gold. Sits down counting them till at last his head begins to nod. And he began to snore, since the whole house shook again with his snoring. Then Jack crept out on tiptoe from oven. When he was passing the ogre, he took one of the bags of gold under his arm. And off he pelters till he came to the beanstalk. And then he threw down a bag of gold, which of course fell into his mother's garden. And he climbed down and climbed down. And he climbed down and climbed down. And he climbed down till at last he got home. and told his mother and showed her the gold and said, "Well, mother, wasn't I right about beans? They really are magical, you see." So they lived on a bag of gold for some time, but at last they came to the end of that. So Jack made up his mind to try his luck once more at the top of Beanstalk. So one fine morning, he rose up early and got on the beanstalk and climbed and climbed. He climbed and climbed and climbed. And he climbed and climbed. Till at last he got on the road again and came to the castle. And once again, sure enough, was that great tall woman standing on the doorstep. "Good morning, Mum," says Jack, bold as brass. "Could you be so good as to give me something to eat?" "Go away, my boy," said the big tall woman, "or else my man will eat you up for breakfast." "But aren't you the youngster who came here once before? You know that very day my man missed one of his bags of gold." "That's strange, Mum," said Jack. "I dare say I could tell you something about that, but I'm so hungry I can't speak of it until I've had something to eat." Well, the big tall woman was curious. She took him in and gave him something to eat. But he had scarcely begun munching as slowly as he could when thump, 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 thump. They heard the giant's footsteps. Then his wife hid Jack away in the oven once again. All happened as it did before. In came the ogre as he did before, said, "Fee, fi, fo, fum." And then he had his breakfast of 3 boiled oxen. And he said, "Wife, bring me the hen that lays the golden eggs." So she brought it, and the ogre said, "Lay." And it laid an egg of all gold. Then the ogre began to nod his head and to snore till the house shook. Then Jack crept out of the oven on tiptoe and caught hold of the golden hen, and was off before you could say Jack Robinson. But this time the hen gave a cackle, which woke the ogre, and just as Jack got out of the house he heard him calling, "Wife! Wife! What have you done with my golden hen?" And the wife said, "Why, my dear?" But that was all Jack heard, for he rushed off to the beanstalk and climbed down like house on fire. When he got home, he showed his mother the wonderful hen and said, "Lay" to it, and it laid a golden egg every time he said "lay." Well, Jack was not content, and it wasn't long before he was determined to have another try at his luck up there at top of Beanstalk. So one fine morning, he rose up early and went onto Beanstalk, and he climbed, 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 till he got to the top. But this time he knew better than to go straight to the ogre's house. And when he got near it, he waited behind a bush till he saw the ogre's wife come out with a pail and get some water. Then he crept into the house and he got into the copper pot that was sitting there. He hadn't been there long when he heard it. Thump, 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 thump. As before, in came the ogre and his wife. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman," cried out the ogre. "I smell him, wife, I smell him." "Do you, my dearie?" said the ogre's wife. "Then if it's that little rogue that stole your gold, and the hen that laid the golden eggs, he's sure to have gotten into the oven." And they both rushed to the oven, but Jack wasn't there. Luckily, and the ogre's wife said, There you are again with your fee-fi-fo-fum. Why, of course it's the laddie you caught last night, and that I've boiled for your breakfast. How forgetful I am, and how careless of you not to know the difference between a live un and a dead un. So the ogre sat down to breakfast and ate it, but every now and then he'd mutter, "Well, I could have sworn." Then he'd get up and search the larder, and search the cupboards and everything, only luckily he didn't think of the copper pot that was standing there. After breakfast was over, the ogre called out, "Wife, wife, bring me my golden harp." So she brought it, and put it on the table before him. Then he said, "Sing." And the golden harp sang most beautifully. And it went on singing till the ogre fell asleep and commenced to snore like thunder. Then Jack lifted up the copper lid very quietly, got down like a mouse and crept on hands and knees until he came to the table, where he got up, caught hold of that golden harp and dashed with it towards the door. But the harp called out quite loud, "Master! Master!" And the ogre woke up just in time to see Jack running off with his harp. Jack ran as fast as he could, and the ogre came rushing after. And would soon have caught him had only Jack had a start and dodged him a bit and knew where he was going. When he got to the beanstalk, the ogre was not more than 20 yards away, when suddenly he saw Jack disappear like. And when he came to the end of the road, he saw Jack underneath, climbing down for dear life. Well, the ogre didn't like trusting himself to such a ladder, and he stood and waited. So Jack got a little bit of a head start. But just then the harp cried out, "Master! Master!" And the ogre swung himself down onto the beanstalk and shook with his heavy weight. Down climbs Jack, and after him climbs the ogre. Down they climbed, down they climbed. And when he was very nearly home, he called out, "Mother, Mother, bring me an axe! Bring me an axe!" And his mother came rushing out with the axe in her hand. And when she came to the beanstalk, she stood stock still with fright. For there she saw the ogre just coming down below crowds. But Jack jumped down and got hold of the axe and gave a chop at Beanstalk. And he gave another chop and another chop and cut it in half, in two. The ogre felt the beanstalk shake and quiver, so he stopped to see what was the matter. Then Jack gave another chop with the axe, and the beanstalk was cut in two and began to topple over. See, it's already toppled over. Then the ogre fell down and broke his crown, and the beanstalk came toppling after. Then Jack showed his mother his golden harp. And what with showing that and selling the golden eggs, Jack and his mother became very rich. And he married a great princess. Who was invisible. And they lived happily ever after.